Hello, loves. It's Sonia G. It's a Moon Babes Monday night, late night edition. We're talking about some real shit. Tonight, we're talking about truth and fear. We're talking about false stuff. We're talking about how to tell the difference between what's light and what's not, and what's false light, and all of the things that people are sensationalizing, and where the baseline, I want to teach you the baseline of these misunderstandings that perpetuate and put people in fear through the centuries. Okay, ultimately, these are also things that I teach you deeply in the Metaphysical Mastermind, but we're going to kind of just tap into that energy. That's what we'll do. We're going to tap into that energy of the Metaphysical Mastermind as I pin this comment, and we're going to talk about things like if we were in the Metaphysical Mastermind. So then you can also get a taste of it and decide if it's for you. Okay? So let's talk about this stuff. Also, happy Mercury retrograde in Libra. Mercury is going to be retrograding in Libra and hanging out and making some moves with Pluto. And there's going to be a lot of transformation in what appears to be balance in our lives on the planet, and like all sorts of things. So in all of this, there are some things that are at the baseline of what is truth and what is not truth, that is above all else important that you understand how to tap into and how to recognize, okay, for yourself. Very, very important, because no matter what happens in the reality that you are experiencing around you, there's an underlying truth, and then there's multiple stories, okay? Some of those stories are synthetic. Some of those stories are organic. Some of those stories have been tampered with. Some of those appear to be true, but they're false, right? It's like a matrix combination experience. Now, how does it work with the experience that you have in all of that? Also, welcome everybody. I see you all jumping on. I haven't stopped for a second. I'm like, let's talk about these things. So also let's keep track of time so that we can make sure and download this. Okay, it's 11. We started at 11:22. Amazing. Okay, so here's the thing. Number one, okay, the planet Earth, okay? How would I say it if I was talking to Mastermind inside the Mastermind class? So planet Earth, which started eons, okay, of ages ago, originally was an actual, it was a malleable planet. So it was a watery planet, okay? There were beings that came here to utilize the resources. These beings were made of higher densities. These are the beings that came, right? Like the star beings, angelic forms, meaning not in human physical body, not in human body form. They were just etheric being living on the earth, because the earth was actually very fluid, okay? Fast forward, Earth gravitational field, Earth in orbit, Earth gains gravity, becomes more of a solid planet. In this trajectory, in the evolution of planet Earth, right? It's like, okay, look, now it's time to build the bodies for the people to incarnate, to have this experience. We're going to have this amazing library exchange. Earth is going to be a beautiful galactic exchange of knowledge and light for this whole like quarter of the universe, okay? And obviously there's a whole lot more that goes into that. But this is, a lot of people say experiment, which it is, and Barbara Marciniak also says it. It sounds like a science experiment that like decreases the value of life. Don't look at it like that. It's an experiment like, hey, let's go see what we can do. Hey, let's go and, see what fundamentally we can understand as souls having a physical experience. Okay, so it's more of like, let's create an experience. So think of it that way, because it needs to be thought of in a way that adds value. There was nothing about creating life on Earth that was about a bad fucking idea. There was nothing about the creation of planet Earth that happened to experiment and torture people. It was not like that. Everything was an experiment on how to contain genetic information for the whole universe, and particularly information that is relative to our galaxy and things that have been in need of resolving. Okay, so this is a bigger, broader situation than, our current day dramas. You understand what I'm saying? So with this in mind, okay, Earth has a big purpose. The people that have incarnated on planet Earth, therefore, also have a big purpose. And because of the trajectory of planet Earth, so there's a lot of things, right? In our solar system, because of the way that the Earth moves around in the cosmos, in the galaxies with the other planets, there's an exchange of energies. Just like when we get around family members, there's an exchange of energies, right? You may or may not like your uncle and aunt. You may or may not enjoy the company of your nieces and nephews. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, you may not want to get judged by grandpa if he's coming around. So there's an exchange of things that happens whenever you have a family reunion. Well, this is what happens with the planets, okay? So the planets in the solar system specifically, which are the ones that affect us the most, but then there's also other systems that it all kind of works together, right? It's a whole big habitat of things. It's not just like, it's kind of like your neighborhood. If your lights fucking go out in the neighborhood, all the neighbors are affected. Same thing. If the lights go out on planet Earth, the whole neighborhood is affected in the solar system. Okay, so keep that in mind, that it's just like everyone gets affected by the things. So, there's people doing late night things around here. Okay, which is good. Hanging with the Moon Babe crew. Okay, so with that being said, so if everything is an exchange of energy, then Earth, being one of the sisters in the solar system, right, being a feminine energy in the solar system, gets affected whenever Earth, the spirit of Gaia inside the body, the physical body of Earth, gets affected by hanging out with the energy of Mercury when Mercury's in retrograde, by hanging out with the exchanges, right, of like Jupiter retro and Saturn retro, when all of these planets are now peeling back layers, when they're asking hard questions, when you're at a family reunion and, everybody's like asking you, it's like the third degree of like all of the things you've been doing in your life and like your 5 and 10 year plan and and it's a lot of questions. It like, there's an effect on it. This is kind of what's happening with, in a sense, right, with the Earth and everybody in the solar system, is that the energy exchange is one of like peeling back the layers, because we gotta, it's all of the planets that are retrograde. So this is the energetic container. The planets are retrograde. This is one layer. The planets are interchanging energy. Then there's people that live on the planets, right? There's humans on Earth. The majority of the species that lives on Earth is human. So we exchange energies. We create adventures, we create stories, we make society threads, like we decide rules of life, like we do all of these things. Same thing happens on different planets. People on Venus have other rules. People on Jupiter have other rules. Maybe you wouldn't call them people because they don't look like they're in human bodies. That doesn't make them not real, okay? So there is existence beyond planet Earth. We know this, okay? There's angelic beings, there's star beings, there's star families. Where does this concept originate? So how is it that there's people everywhere? How did the souls come? Like, how does this whole thing happen? Follow me here, because we're going to get to like the whole like angels and demons situation. So every time we talk about, hey, you're an infinite being of light, right? What does that mean? If you're an infinite being of light, can you actually fit all of your light inside of this physical body? No, because infinite doesn't fit into a confined human form, right? So where the fuck is the rest of your light? Where's the rest of your infinite light? Okay, think about that for a second. So if a portion of your light is inside this physical body, light is information, light is knowledge. So if a portion of your light is inside of this physical body, where is the rest of your light? What is it doing? Okay. Now, because we understand, and scientifically on Earth, there is also lots of studies, Harvard, like whatever. There's lots of published studies that talk about, and if you're curious about this, look up phantom DNA, the phantom DNA effect, and look up the studies that they've done. There's lots of studies done with like the DNA by now. And we reference these and we go into it in the Metaphysical Mastermind. If this is your thing, we get more technical with this stuff, okay? So the DNA is a material that codes the reality around it. So the phantom DNA effect is the fact that if there's DNA inside of a space, okay? So if there's genetic material, if there's coding inside of a space, so inside of a jar, you put DNA inside of a jar, close the lid, hangs out, whatever, has an overnight sleepover inside the jar. Then you take it out, you take out the DNA, you put it somewhere else. The phantom effect is the fact that that piece of coding is now still connected to the space and is still able to code the environment around it. Why? Intelligence. Even though the material is gone, you can access the space that you're connected with, okay, by that association. What does that mean to you? What does that mean to us? It means that you're able to access layers of yourself that are your infinite light through the cosmos that are not currently inhabiting your body, because DNA is intelligent, okay? It may not make sense to you like based on this reference, but the point of it is that you can track your energy will know itself. Once you get a hold of the understanding of your frequency of who you are able to match that beingness, that frequency, that energy signature through the cosmos. Of course, if you don't know how to do this can sound like fucking rocket science, and then I lose you and then you're up here, which is the reason why I teach courses on how to do this, right? Like there are ways and there are skills and there are tools. But so here's the thing. So if you have the ability, so let's just say you learned a bunch of ways that you can actually connect to your own infinite light. Now what? How is that helpful? Okay, so then there's layers of yourself that are intelligent, that are not living inside of your physical human body. What is this energy doing outside of your physical body? What is it? What are the experiences? Are there other lives? Are there other lives that are on Earth? Are there higher selves' lives? Are you currently energetically living on other planets? Okay, so these are all really good questions. Well, what does that mean for you? Right? On this planet, the part of you that is conscious and aware in this body. Well, guess what? If there's a part of your light that is currently incarnated on Venus, or let's just say on the Pleiades, because a lot of people understand the Pleiadians, right? So because Venus is very close, it's like sister planet to Earth. And also the Pleiades, the sun of the Pleiades, whose name is Alcyone, like our sun, Solaris, right? Like there's different, like the different systems in the universe are actually, they work together, okay? And they rotate together. And when we are spiraling and moving together through the galaxy, like there's movements of the planets, just like, you know, the sun rises every day and the moon rises every night. And then we know right now that Mercury's retrograde and that Jupiter is here and like, you know, whatever, all the planets are doing their things. So there's movements that are on purpose. They're not by accident. So we're all moving together through the galaxy, through the Milky Way, right? Like in the universe, there's a movement, which means there's an exchange of energy, which means we're all tied together, which means when the lights go out on Earth, right? Like if the lights go out in your neighborhood, your household gets affected. So if something happens on Earth, our cousins on Venus and on the Pleiades get affected, or our family over there. Well, what if they're not cousins? What if there is actually a part of your light that is currently inhabiting Venus? What if you could access that information? What if Venus is in higher vibrational frequency than Earth? So what if you could access that layer of information from a higher portion of yourself and reconcile it into who you are now? So what if you could learn to see life from a higher perspective of who you are? Does that like change your daily life? You better fucking believe it. If you have more knowledge inside of your body than other people, you better believe that you can recognize what is actually truth and what is not truth, right? And these are like layers and layers and layers, but with more knowledge and with more light comes a much easier understanding. You look at a person and you're like, oh, your aura looks like this. Oh, I know this about you. I can hear your thoughts. I can feel your heartbeat. I know whether or not you're telling me the truth. You just know things because like everybody can be psychic. Why? Because you have all of these higher levels of yourself, which are your higher selves that have integrated through time. Okay. So if we are an infinite being of light and a part of us is incarnated on this in this physical body, and a part of us is maybe having a life on the Pleiades, and a part of us is maybe on Arcturus, maybe a part of us is in Sirius, maybe a part of us is in Andromeda, maybe someone is serving on a council. So we have all of these layers of ourselves that have access to higher information. Why would you not work with them? Why would you not work with yourself through time and space and planes of existences to understand what's happening here on Earth instead of listening to other people's stuff, right? When you learn how to tap into your own resources, nothing can fool you because you have now received a higher education that no Earth system can give you, right? So it's kind of like if someone told you all of a sudden, oh, turns out, the sky is green and the grass is blue. And that's just how it fucking is. Well, what do you say to that? You're like, no, I actually happen to know. I have studied these colors. I know these things everywhere inside of me. I know these things, right? So it's like there are things that you know for sure that you have an understanding of. This is like an agreed upon reality, okay? Then all of a sudden these realities can start crumbling. Well, what are the things that you know for sure? The things that you know for sure are the things that are contained in the energy and the frequency of your soul, in the framework of who you are. But if you don't reach for more, you will not know more. And you will stay here in this lower framework. And then you'll be like, oh, is that really a thing? Like, okay, maybe if you say it's true, it's fucking true. I don't know. Sure, you seem like a source, right? You seem like I should probably trust you. You seem like I should believe you. Shit. Yo, people, turns out the sky is green and the glass is blue. So we should probably just not, whatever. And then this campaign of disinformation happens. Why? Because you didn't have power of discernment, because you didn't know how to trust yourself, because you didn't know how to tell the truth, right? So this is very basic. It makes a lot of sense to you when I talk about the sky being green and the grass being blue. But what if I talk to you about Metatron's cube? What if I tell you, hey, you know what? Turns out Metatron's cube is not right. And turns out there's all these problems with the angels. You're like, oh, shit. She's a source that talks about these things. I don't know. Maybe I should believe her. Do you have any kind of internal checkpoint reference? What do all of the layers inside of you say? What kind of response system is in your heart, right? You'd be like, yo, sister, that's bullshit if I ever said something like that, right? So you have to learn how to check yourself and check the information. So be your own, the fact checker, even though that's like a bad thing to say. So cancel that because there's a whole other reputation with that. But you have to be able to check the information that you intake so that you discern it, so that it doesn't resonate with you. Run it through the higher layers of yourself. Hey, yo, is this something that we know? How does it work on Venus? Like, impart knowledge, dear higher self. How does it work on Andromeda? Impart knowledge, dear higher self. Hey, dear higher self, do you know who Archangel Michael is? Does he, in fact, help or not help? What about Metatron? Does Metatron help? Like, do we have access to him? Do you know his energy? Why don't you figure this shit out by yourself, right? Instead of believing people. Because here's the thing. When people ask me questions, I know the things that I know because I know them. I know them. I have had experiences with them to the point that it's not a belief anymore. I know it, okay? So first, when you develop your intuition, it feels a lot like faith. It feels a lot like trust. It feels a lot like, I want to believe that Archangel Michael is here, but is he really here, right? As you put a little more faith into like your understanding, not into the energies, into yourself and your own discernment of things, okay? And the practical applications of working with beings that are outside of your physical body. So not you and the layers of you, but beings that are outside of your physical body. Once you've learned to trust yourself to discern more and more and more, you fucking know if it's Archangel Michael or not. Like, you will know, right? But you have to learn to trust yourself and trust your instincts. This is one of the fundamental things that people do, is that they just call for help from the outside in. Whenever you call for help from the outside in, whenever you believe something that the people in charge of running the world tell you from the outside in, wherever somebody tells you the sky is green, right, and the grass is fucking whatever, purple, and you're just like, oh, okay, well, sure, okay, right? Archangel Michael is, not real, okay, or, whatever, or like, whenever you look for things outside in, that's not your answer. The answer is inside, but what does that actually fucking mean? Because the people have been saying this forever. All the answers are inside of you. But if you don't know how to access your power inside of you, you're still fucked. So you have to learn how to access your knowledge and your power inside of you. Because if you don't have that, you're still going to believe the people that are going to tell you the lie, and then you're not going to know the things, okay? So you have to learn to discern and know for yourself. Very fundamental principle. Okay, so what does that mean? Let's talk about the difference, okay? So now you're kind of understanding how having higher layers of consciousness, having higher access to the truth of who you are is important, because who else is going to tell you? Like, when the world around you crashes and everything looks fucking weird, who are you going to trust? Who are you going to trust? Your best friend? Who are you going to trust? Right? So really think about that. Like, do you trust yourself enough to discern right from wrong, truth from lies? Because that's an important, that's like number fucking one on the list right now, right? You have to be able to know how to move yourself through. Is this person telling the truth? Is this person telling a lie? How does this person make me feel? How is my energy in alignment to this? Does this feel like love? Does this feel like fear, right? Like, how is it that people are talking? Now, it doesn't mean fear is not talking about hard things. Fear is talking about whatever it is in a way that incites fear. You can be having a conversation about makeup and make it be fearful to a person, right? You could be scared that you're applying makeup in the wrong way. If you talk to like the wrong makeup person, at the counter, at the, whatever. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, it's not what you're talking about. It's how you're talking about it. You can also cuss all day long and do it out of love, right? No, maybe not all day long. But do you know what I mean? Like, I say very loving fuck words because I say them to prove a point, but a point that comes from love. So you have to understand the underlying energy of the people. People can talk about anything, but are they talking about it in love or are they talking about it in fear? How does it come across? What's the underlying energy? What's the intention? Okay, how is it making you feel? Is it elevating you? Is it making you feel like anxiety? Do you want anxiety, right? So let's go back to the beginning of time. Let's go back to, the earth being formed and all of these things. So in order for any kind of society to be organized, right, there have to be rules. There have to be principles. This is why there is such a thing as higher law. Okay, so there's a higher law that governs the universe, and then there's a lower law that governs the lower dimensional energy fields. What does that mean, a higher law and a lower law? Well, it turns out that there's many different grids of energy fields on Earth, okay? that represent different dimensional energies that we can all ground into. We can also create layers, right? Some of us came to create different grid systems. And that's a conversation for another day. But there's different grids. So we all understand that the old cultural world that was built and that has perpetuated for a while, this is what we call the 3D, the three-dimensional existence, the matrix, okay, of planet Earth. That's what it is known for. So it's simply an experience. It's the first layer of experience of an expression of life, okay, in form. It's when your spirit takes form. And there's an experience of it at the lowest available density of having a physical experience. That's called 3D, okay? So when you're there, you don't know better. That's why in order to be born on Earth, we have to lose consciousness, because we're like coming into this really dense layer of existence. So as you grow, you have to awaken and remember things inside of yourself. Ascension is inside of us, okay? Awakening is inside of us. Everything inside of us remembers who we are, what we came for, how to access higher levels of consciousness. Now, if while you are growing up, which we all went through this, okay, the majority of us, if while you're growing up, you decide, oh, this is planet Earth, and this is 3D, and I'm going to go by lower laws, right? Then you are bound. It's your decision. You match the frequency, right? Your spirit inside of the baby body, of the little body. I mean, it's not like it's that fair if you want to look at it that way, but it's like everybody gets memory wiped, right? So you're born, you get you're born into density, and then it's a function of how much of that do we retain as we grow, that we have the ability, to see. Babies see angels all the time. Babies see past relatives all the time, right? They don't have they haven't accepted all of the rules of society yet. They don't know that it's weird to see dead people or angelic being or star beings, right? Like, they don't know that. They don't know that society deems it that way. Therefore, they do it. They just can't talk yet, right? So they don't tell you. But as soon as they start talking and they say, oh, I have imaginary friends, a lot of people, if you were a child and you were told I have imaginary friends, you were told, like, whatever, stop making shit up. We don't see it. It doesn't exist. So then you're like, oh, crap, I guess we don't do this here. I better conform by the rules. Otherwise, I'm in trouble. So it's a whole life of that stuff. So we become denser in the experience. We become denser. We devolve, right? And then we're like, wait, so we've lived this life of 3D, and 3D kind of fucking sucks. And clearly the 3D world is falling apart, and 3D is not where my soul's at. And I was born for my soul to awaken on this planet in order to rebirth all of these layers and all of these frequencies. So now you have this thing inside of you, and you have to awaken, and you have to know things, and it's the rabbit hole and shit, the conspiracies, and your eyes open and all of your chakras pop, and you're like, what the fuck is going on? Then you're like, oh my God, I've been lied to in my life. Like, these are all of the stages, right? And then you're like, oh my God, I need to figure this out. Oh, I'm giving out the material world. The 3D must be the material world. And then there's this moment where money becomes bad, and everything about, the culture becomes bad. And it's like all of this thing. And it's a letting go and a detachment that's necessary in order to rewire it, right? We talk about the soften. There's a phase of ascension where money's gotta go, where alcohol's gotta go, where sex gotta go, where friends gotta go. Some people get really they lose their house, they lose everything before they figure this shit out, okay? So you have to, it's not that you're losing it because ascension means that you have to let go of your physical possessions at all. It just means, or your physical relationships, it just means that you have to rewire them. They were wired on a lower vibrational grid. So you have to unhook everyone and everything, and you have to reframe it. So redefine your relationship with your family, with money, with your finances, with your friends, with your spouses, with your children, with what alcohol is, with how you have sex, right? All of these interactions have to get rewired. They have to get rewired on a higher grid. okay? So once you rewire them, once you ascend and you're like, shit, I'm letting go of money in 3D. Ooh, look, I'm finding money again in 5D. This is really good up here. Okay, I'm letting go of sex in 3D. God, I can't do sex anymore. I can't even intertwine. Like my soul just doesn't want to just like, have sex with someone because that doesn't fulfill my soul anymore. I'm letting it go. Boom, you find sex in 5D, physical plane. I'm talking 5D physical plane, okay? So now you're having sex over here in 5D physical plane. You're like, damn, this is amazing, right? So same thing. You unhook friends in 3D. You like reconnect in 5D. You have to drop the lower densities. This process feels like a lot of a death. Like it feels like death. You have to recalibrate, okay, through. So a lot of times you have to like clear and clean and whatever not. And then you have to bring in higher levels of yourself, okay? So connect to higher levels of yourself. In this moment, everything is really fragile. In this moment of unplugging, which is happening for a lot of people right now, you don't know where to go because it's a physical transition. Your whole body changes. Your face breaks out, your skin breaks out, all the crystals inside of your body become active. You have hot flashes, you have cold flashes. You're like, what the fuck is going on? Skin rashes. Like all of these things happen because you start to get the light body. Okay. And then you have these weird experiences and your soul wants to eject out of your body. And you're like, shit, I'm seeing sparkles everywhere. I'm having like all of the signs, right? You understand like these are things that happen in a sequence of events and it gets really glitchy. When you're going through an awakening now, when you're going through that layer of ascension now, reality is very glitchy right now because there isn't just two options. It's no longer do you just transition from the 3D to the 5D grid. All of a sudden you're like, shit, I'm unplugging from 3D. Oh God, do I go to 5? Do I go to 7? Is there 9? Do I go to 12? Is there 36, right? How far can I reach? So a lot of people think that once they unplug from 3D, they land and then they stay, and it's not. You keep ascension is a constant, right? So you unplug from 3D, you land in 5, and then you rise, right? And then everything changes. So in 3D, time goes this way. The moment you hit the higher grids, time goes this way. Now you're reconciling with higher levels of yourself. Now you're remembering who you are and things make sense in a different way. Now you can bring back friends. You can bring back like physical life. You can bring back money. Money gets to support you. Friends get to support you. Food tastes better. Sex is meaningful. You have soul connections, right? Like all of these things start to shift and you're like, holy fuck, how did I not know that, right? And you just didn't because you were hooked, you were wired, you were a match for lower vibrational frequencies. So we have to let go, forgive, clear out, like forgive ourselves, forgive others, clear things out, remember the truth of who we are, clear the rest, call in new layers of the things that we want, clear the rest. It's a constant, right? And so it does, like a lot of people are like, they ask me when it's going to end, and it's like, it's not gonna, it ends when you burst into light. Like it ends when you manifest your light body, right? So like when you get the rainbow body. So in all of this, okay, there will be beings that come to you. And sometimes what people don't understand is these beings that come to you, not the bug beings, thank you. These beings that come to you, sometimes it's you. It's higher levels of yourself because as you switch, time going this way to time going this way, okay? But even just forget that. Imagine ascension. You're going up in ascension, and all of a sudden, your frequency is getting higher and higher. So then all of a sudden, there's these beings, which is you, like angelic beings, that want to come and see you. It's like, oh my God, look at my avatar down there. Like, look at my human self. We're doing so good. Like raising your vibration, raising your vibration. Well, all of a sudden, you're going to match the frequency of your Pleiadian self. All of a sudden, you're going to match the frequency of your Sirian self. All of a sudden, you're going to match the frequency of your Lyran self. Like, you're going to meet your higher selves along the way. Well, if you don't understand what's going on, right, and instead of raising your vibration and attracting the parts of you that want to like match and talk to you, and if you don't know how to relate, then it gets weird because it can feel like schizophrenia. It can feel like you don't know how to manage through that. Okay. Sometimes people get really freaked out. So instead of doing the work of ascension in a clean, supported, kind of energetic way, they end up going through it as a dark night of the soul that never ends. And what happens is they disassociate with society and with this planet and with what's happening on the planet. They don't know how to handle it. They don't know how to make money. They don't know how to make friends. It feels like they don't belong. And they end up in this hate relationship with the world. They end up the forever black sheep with the world that never really finds a place, okay? That's not what you want to do. You want to be the black sheep that emerges. You want to be the black sheep that makes their way. Okay, so it's a matter of literally you have to rebirth yourself through all of the different layers, and you have to gain knowledge through who you are. So along the ways, there's these different beings that will come and assist you, different beings that will come and try and bug you. There are beings that will come and haunt you if you are in the lower vibrational frequencies. And there are beings that will come to support you if you're staying in the higher vibrational frequencies. How do you know? Here's the question. How does it feel to you? How much do you trust yourself to know who's around you? Do you recognize it if somebody that passed away comes next to you? Do you recognize if it's your grandma or your grandpa or whoever in your family, like a dear friend or a person, right, that passed away that you know? Do you recognize them? Do you remember how they feel, right? So start practicing on things that you know. And here's the thing. If you get scared, you know, like when you feel like there's somebody next to you, but there isn't, and you kind of have that like, you know, thing like, oh my God, I thought there was somebody, but there isn't somebody. But then you're like, wait, is there someone? Okay. Get out of the fear response. Get into your heart. Whenever you're in fear response, you're a match for fear. You will attract fear, okay? Whenever you're in heart-centered space, you will attract heart-centered beings. So you will attract higher vibrational frequencies. Because reality is layered, there is always an option for you to attract a lower vibrational being, and there is always an option for you to attract a higher vibrational being. It depends on what you're a match for in every right now. This box elder bug really loves me. So it depends on what you're a match for. And you can change what you're a match for at any time. Okay? So the truth of it is that we're not alone in the air that we breathe, right? Our physical eyes, the light spectrum of the human physical eye, can only see the visible light spectrum, as it is called. But that doesn't mean what we don't see, the unseen realms, that doesn't mean that they don't exist. It just means that we're not visualizing them through our physical eyes. But if you close your eyes and you look with your third eye or your solar plexus senses, or you open your heart, you understand. What a lot of people have not figured out yet is that it's only when you're in your heart and when you're in your connection of who you are that you have discerning powers. And when you don't have that, then the beings can lie to you, okay? So here's the thing. A being that is of the light will never, ever, ever hold back. There are certain rules. And so now we're getting into higher laws and higher rules. So now you're saying, okay, so there's always being around me. How do I know what's good and how do I know what's not? How do I know if it's really Archangel Michael? Number one, rules of the higher planes, okay? A being of the light will always tell you their name. Always. If you ask to shake their hand, number two, if you ask to shake their hand or for a physical confirmation, they will always physically confirm. Always, okay? Being of the dark, they don't, okay? So, you already know two things that are very important. Now, all beings are bound by higher law. So the more about higher law you know, the more you can relate and understand how to move through them, right? Now, if you ask a being, hey, what's your name? And you don't hear it, doesn't mean that they didn't say it. No, It means that potentially you didn't hear it, but potentially they did say it, right? So there is all that you have to get figured out. So you have to know. And sometimes, like I teach in the Mastermind, I teach, okay, clear your mind. If you don't hear it with your ears, see if you can see it in your third eye. Or maybe see if you can just get a letter, see if you can just get a sound, right? Like there's ways to start understanding and looking for confirmations. There's different kinds of confirmations. Well, then you build a relationship. Think about it this way. When you start dating a person on planet Earth, how do you know if they're good? You have a feeling. You have a feeling this person is interesting, this person I want to be with. But do you know? No, you don't know. Then you go on a date. Then you build some relationship. Then you go to dinner. Then you go, whatever. Like you go and hang out. You go for a walk in the park. You go for a hike. Then you go on a trip, right? Whatever it is that you do, you build a relationship. So then now you don't just think or have an intuition. You start to know. You know that this person responds well to this and this and this. You know that this person, doesn't like to go to the beach, but they like to go to the mountains. Or this person, you start to understand them. You understand their energy. You understand what they like to do. You have an experience of who they are. It is the same thing with angelic realms. It is the same thing with star beings. But you have to be willing to develop a relationship. Also, develop a relationship like you would with somebody that you're dating. Not that you would date one of your higher selves or layers of yourselves or one of your angels. Not suggesting this at all in the least. But you want to develop a relationship like a friendship, okay? Oh my gosh. I'm super tired. Hang on, sorry. I didn't sleep a whole lot last night. So, you want to develop a relationship. You want to develop trust, okay? If you call Archangel Michael, if you call Archangel Metatron in a moment where you're drunk and you're scared because somebody is coming after you and you feel like you have to clear things, well, guess what? If you don't have a relationship and you make the call, you're probably shit out of luck. You're not going to get the right answer. Do you see what I'm saying? Develop a friendship and a relationship with your guides and your angels so that if you can call on them, that they show up, you have a rapport, you have a relationship. Then if they're the right guy or not, if there's an angel or not, if something's happening or not. Once you start to create an exchange like that, you build a relationship. You get signs, you get answers, they help you with things, right? And you're in your heart. You're doing it out of love. You're doing it to connect. You're not doing it because you need something. A lot of times, people that have bad experiences with angels and guides is because they need something and they want something. They need their house cleared. They need their energy field clear. They want to manifest something. So they are desperate to get the thing that they want. And so they go outside of themselves and then they, have an entity that's not actually like that because they're doing it out of this ego thing. And then they're right, they don't get the right Archangel Michael. They don't get the right Archangel Metatron. And then they're oh my God, it's all evil, it's all bad, it's all da-da-da-da. Well, you didn't do it right? If you light a candle and you do it incorrectly, you can accidentally burn down your entire fucking house if you don't pay attention, right? But if you do it correctly, having a candle lit warms up the space. It's the same thing. There's all sorts of things that you can do in alignment or not. What are you a match for in the moment that you ask for the things, right? Ask out of being sovereign. Ask out of being a powerful being that asks another powerful being for assistance, right? The best thing that you can always do is have your higher self help you. And once you have a relationship with your higher self will always tell you the truth. But there will be places and there will be relationships that you will develop, that you will know with your angels, with your guides, with your higher selves. And it's undeniable. Once you know those things, nobody can take them away from you. Nobody can take them away from you unless somebody comes to threaten you, right? Like the thing that happened with Doreen Virtue And, all of a sudden she she was so influencing so many people that she had to deny that the things that she said was true. Like many authors, have to say that what they write is fiction, even though it's truth. Otherwise they get in trouble, right? So you have to learn to discern for yourself. This is the most important thing. Last thing I'll say about this is this. There's this big thing about Metatron's cube specifically and like the Metatronic grids and like da-da-da-da-da. So, number one, the grids around the planet are what holds reality together. If your reality is a shit show, you're a match for the shit show. Clear the thoughts in your head. You don't want to match the shit show reality. You want to match a higher vibrational reality. Easy. It doesn't have to be complicated, okay? It's really not that fucking complicated. Raise your vibration, be a match for a better reality. The better reality will manifest. Done. Lower realities are infiltrated. They're infiltrated because your fucking TV is infiltrated. The radio is infiltrated. The billboards are infiltrated. There's shitty energy everywhere. What are you a match for, right? Do you intake that or do you emit your own frequency? So these are the big questions. So there will always be an option, okay? And you will always be able to drop into a lower grid by having a lower vibrational kind of moment or choice. We have choices every day. Is your choice bringing you to a lower vibration, or is your choice bringing you to an expanded vibration where you're a match for a better reality where you can do better things and experience better life, right? Like, so where are you at with that? And so there's that. So the grids are that simple. Okay, you will always connect to the grid that you're a match to. The higher vibrational grids require a frequency match. So you can't go and dump your bullshit on the grid. That doesn't work. If you're having a bad day and you connect to the grid to get rid of your bad day, that's a lower grid, okay? So the higher grids, we hold constructs of reality in a harmonious way. We build new earth and new frequencies here. We don't dump frequencies here, right? We're responsible to alchemize our own energy and not dump on the grid. So if you're dumping on the grid, you're on a lower vibrational grid because the higher grids will electrocute you. You won't be able to plug into that, right? The voltage won't allow it. So you have to learn to hold your frequency to go to a higher grid. The point is you will always match whatever grid you're a match for. That's just happens automatically. If you're not a match for it, it won't happen, right? It's like you don't get qualified for the car loan to get the car. If you're not a match for it, you're not a fucking match for it. So don't stress about that. It's not a matter of connecting to the right grid. It's a matter of raising your vibration so that you naturally, when you do connect, which everybody needs to ground and connect to heaven and earth, that's fucking you breathe and you connect to heaven and earth. You have to do that, right? You have to be conscious of your chakras, of your energy field. If you're not, you really have to get conscious of it because otherwise you're struggling right now. If you don't have a hold of your energy and if you don't understand how to manage your chakras, that's depression. That's anxiety right now. That's what that looks like. So if you're living in those frequencies, get a hold of your energy field, okay? And again, again, these are things that I teach in the courses. And it's I want to tell you so many things. There's just so much, right, to say in this limited amount of time. So so you have to learn to manage that energy and your energy that way. Okay. So the grids. There are grids where there's lies that live on the grids. For example, on the 3D grid, one of the lies is that one of the lies is the things that, the stuff that's going around, all of the main fear campaigns on the planet, right? The ways that they treat people, those are lies. Those are lies that don't have to be true for you, for me, or for anybody in higher realities. They don't have to be true because they're not true on higher grids, right? So if a lot more people refuse them, then they wouldn't manifest, okay? So a lot of grids are infiltrated with lies. Well, get out of there and get to higher grids, get to higher realities. Connecting to grids is really just another way of saying you're connecting to a higher frequency. You're connecting to a higher vibrational reality, okay? If you're connecting to a lower reality, a lower grid, a lower vibration, a lower density, and you feel like shit, then get out of the shit. How do you do it? You change your thoughts, you alchemize your energy, right? And you rise up and you expand. You think better thoughts. You raise your frequencies. You do things that elevate you. You do things that open your mind, right? You're not in a place where you're just like angry with life and fearful, and then you call your angels and then you're like, oh, I guess that wasn't the right guy to call. If you're a match for fear, you're going to get demonic presence, period, because that's what you're a match for. So you have to learn to get in your heart, right? Fear attracts fear, love attracts love. It's not fucking rocket science, right? For example, in the physical, if you are so scared that the person that you date is going to cheat on you, guess what's going to happen? Your fear that that person's going to cheat on you will match that person cheating on you because you were scared of it. So they did. Okay. We manifest our fears. So it's kind of like that. Fear attracts fears. Love attracts love. And the people that say, oh, but I love this. And then I got that. Well, why did that happen? What underlying non-worthy story, whatever, not good enough thing did you have inside of you that wasn't clear that manifested that? There's always a reason. This is not the things that we're talking about today. One more thing I want to clarify. Are demons real? Yes, because angels are real. Are you real? Are your children real? Is your family real? Yes. Does opposition exist? Yes. It's getting cold. Does opposition exist? Yes. Does duality exist? Yes. Does the 3D world exist? Yes. Does the 5D world exist? Yes. It all fucking exists. All the possibilities exist, okay? And when your third eye opens, you will see some of these creatures and they're not amazing looking, right? Which is why a lot of people are like, okay, maybe back up from, my third eye being open. But once you learn how to manage your energy, you don't have to see certain things because you can just be surrounded by the things that you're a match for. So if you're not a match for seeing demons, you're not going to see them. If you're not a match for having fucking demons around, you're not going to have them around, right? But if you sit there and you harbor envy and you harbor whatever, lower vibrational, like lust, or you harbor destructive energy or revenge or, these lower vibrational frequencies, well, guess fucking what? You're going to have demons around that feed on that shit all day long, right? If you're jealous, if you're envious, if you're in those kinds of energies, well, fuck yeah. You think you get Archangel Michael when you call Archangel Michael? You better think again. You got to get in your heart, right? So get in your heart. Get in your higher, do your work first, then work with your angels and your guides as a sovereign being of light. Okay? Very important. Okay, last thing that I was going to say is about the Metatronic thing. There are sacred geometries that have been tainted, and they went from a system of 12 to a system of 10. So anything that has a system of 10 is a different circuit. It's just like a grid, okay? Look at it. Does it feel good or does it feel like shit? Does that image make you feel like shit or does it make you feel good? And then you'll know, okay? There's some people that talk about the flower of life and the daisy of death and there's all sorts of new age distortions. Look at the flower of life. Does it make you feel good? Some of the drawings won't. That's not the accurate one, okay? Do some of the drawings make you feel good? Do they feel good in your heart? Do they feel good in your stomach? Does your energy feel positive about it? Does it feel harmonious? Does it feel there's a symphony and butterflies flying? Then that's probably the right rendering of it. Okay? So that's how you know. Fucking don't just listen to people. Learn to discern, right? Learn to discern. Because otherwise, what are you going to do? You're going to continue to count oh, wait, is that 10 points? Oh, man, that's bad. Oh, wait, is that 12 points? Let me count again. Oh, that's the good one. How about you just develop your senses and then you're oh, that feels really good or that feels really bad. Because what if there's another rule for another sacred geometry? What if for another one it's not 10 or not 12? How will you know? You have to develop your senses. You have to, right? It's the same thing with where to go and what to do in this life. You have to develop your senses. People can say all sorts of things, but you have to know which way to go. So no, sacred geometry is not bad. How do I know? I know because sacred geometry started emitting out of me, and I have sight, okay? I have sight, and I have a very powerful gift with tracking energy. That was a thing that I earned, quote unquote, right? I was born with 1 in a million heart condition, heart defect, that when I was little would give me heart attacks and fibrillations all the time. So I had a really rough childhood when it came to like my heart. And then finally, when I was later an adult, I had heart surgery. And after I had heart surgery, I didn't have to have these things, but I was so used to carrying really high frequency inside my body that I was trained. I had been conditioned to holding frequency. And so because of that and several other things that happen in my life, my body can hold frequency in a different way than a lot of people, which is the reason why I do what I do and I have the job that I have. Honey, find another home. That's the reason why I can do the things I can do. Point being is I have a gift, I have an ability, and I can track energy because I can hold it in a different way inside my body. So, but everybody can figure this out. For me, I think it just happened before it was available for other people, just because I have these innate gifts and qualities. Doesn't make you non-special if you don't have this. Everybody's got something, okay? Because that's just the nature of who we are, because we're here now. So when you start to expand and when you start to get aware of your physical body and your aura and your energy field around you, you start to notice that when you're really heart-centered and when you feel really good and when you feel really connected to your higher self, your energy expands and you will see it. When you get to the point that you will see it and you can track it, our energy field, the human aura from your heartbeat, expands in the form of a flower of life. And if you actually go, so you're just like, holy shit. And then once you see it and you see it and you see it some more, you're like, oh my God, that keeps happening. Why am I turning into a flower of life? My energy automatically expands. My energy from my heart automatically, organically expands in a flower of life. So if it comes from my heart, you can't tell me it's not true, right? Like if I see it and it comes from me and I can follow it and I have visual, physical, all of these things, and I know what it is and I know what it does because I feel it and I know it and I recognize it and now I know how to work with it. There's nobody that's going to be able to sit here and tell me any kind of bullshit about the flower of life being some kind of form of death thing, because I know. I didn't just read it on a magazine or on a book or listen to it on YouTube, right? Or on an Instagram meme and said, oh yeah, that's probably a good idea. Like, this or that. Like once you know things, nobody can take it away from you, okay? So this is where you want to develop it. And so whether your belief finds its based in my knowledge because of the things that I know, and then you try it on and then you see how it feels for you, right? That's helpful. But then you actually disengage from other people's beliefs and you create your own. And ultimately, that is the thing that I always want to teach you, is to be able to discern for yourself. Okay. Also, anybody that's talking shit on like the flower of life, go look at the way that that nature procreates, and our cells. Okay, when you make a baby, our cells make the seed of life and they make the flower of life. So it's a natural pattern. Like people just have distortions. There's bot accounts that create falsehoods left and right, and they talk all sorts of shit, and then people pick it up because it's sensationalism, and sensationalism sells and whatever not. And so then they tell all of these bullshit stories to be cool, except it's not cool, and they're actually perpetuating old stories of an old paradigm that's trying to die. And like there's people that are like, wait, let's pick back up all of that bag of problems and bring it back up here. Well, shit, no wonder the grids get infiltrated, right? Same thing with Metatron's cube. Metatron's cube got a bad rep because of that Transformers movie, okay? So in movies, sometimes there's like, maybe not even just that, but whatever. People can say all sorts of things and make them trendy, right? Just like we all know that when, the people on the televisions said, oh my God, push the button. Everybody said, oh my God, the grocery stores ran out of toilet paper. Boom. Everybody believed it, manifested the fuck out of that, and there were people that were without toilet paper. I was never a match for it. I never found a store without it, right? But at the beginning of this whole thing, that was a thing. That was an available reality, okay? So when someone says, hey, Metatron's cube and Metatron's grid is like relative to death or whatever the fuck, demonic, like whatever evil word association they want to say, right? It's because somebody said, hey, the stores are running out of toilet paper and everybody made it happen, right? Like everyone believes it. So somebody starts it and makes a cool graphic of it, right? And creates a reality, and then it's overlaid and it's injected in reality with such a force and such a trend, right? Trends create energy snowballs, and people are like, oh, I guess if, the Kardashians are doing it, then everybody's fucking doing it, that I should probably buy it too, because otherwise I won't be cool. Well, if everybody's talking about, sacred geometry being like this and this and that, then I should probably get on the train too, because otherwise I'm not cool if I'm not talking. Learn to be cool with yourself. Learn to know what's true for yourself. Do you see what I'm saying? Like that shit, it doesn't matter. Like once you start to realize that your life is based on your own principles of reality, you're not going to believe anybody else besides the stuff that you feel for yourself. Okay? So don't worry when you see these like, oh, don't worry. Get in your heart. Find your truth. Find yourself. That's where you want to go. Okay? I love you guys. I'm going to go because it's been an hour and I really want this video to download. Okay? If you want more of this, go to the Mastermind, the Metaphysical Mastermind. It's an amazing 12-week journey. Module 1 starts tomorrow. Okay? Go to my website, www.moonbabetribe.com. I love you. Sonia G, Moonbabes Monday Night Live. I love you. I love you. Message me under here, comment under here, okay, if you have any questions.